I'm Matt Ellis. On this edition of Ask Our Experts from Mainstay Supportive Housing, we look at establishing coping strategies for people with disabilities. Our expert is Danielle Llado, Outreach and Development Coordinator for the Lark Center in Norwood, Massachusetts. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning, Matt.
Tell us first, as Mainstay provides supportive homes for people with disabilities, can you talk a little bit about how parents and caregivers can prepare their loved ones to transition into a supportive home environment?
Absolutely. So I think the first thing for us to remember is that just like any young adult that's transitioning to college or to a different housing situation, there's going to be some natural hesitance that occurs with this. So just a lot of validation I've found can go a long ways of, yeah, this is going to be a change, but I believe in you. You can do it. So you're starting off with this validation, then the prep work really starts at home. So, previewing what is the experience at Mainstay going to look like for you? What are the expectations? What are some responsibilities? And start slowly incorporating that into your own routines at home so that your young adult isn't in for this shock of, oh my gosh, here I have to do this, this, and this. We're at home. It was mom that was doing everything. So, setting those expectations can be really helpful using visuals to say, hey, here's what you're going to do today. Here's your responsibility. And using it as an opportunity to really let your young adult spread their wings a little bit and try something out in a way that works for them. Might not be your same routine, but that's okay.
Living independently means understanding rules and complying with expectations. Help us understand the difference between compliance and boundaries, particularly for adults with autism.
This is a great question, Matt. So, when we think about the difference between compliance and expectations, compliance really comes from a place of a power dynamic, and it's really focusing on, I have this thing that you need to do in this specific way in this specific timeline. And oftentimes it's coming from a place of, you do this because I said so. That's just what you need to do. An expectation has a little bit more wiggle room. It's honoring this individual's unique way of approaching a situation and saying that's okay too. So, classic example I think of is unloading a dishwasher. Compliance might be okay, at 10 a.m., you're going to unload the dishwasher, you're going to do top rack first. Once you do that, you get a sticker, a token, whatever. Expectation is, let's talk about why we unload the dishwasher. Then we can load it back up. It helps to keep things clean. You have some options of, do you want to do the dishwasher first or do you want to take out the trash? And if you want to listen to music while you do the dishwasher, that's okay too. So it's really honoring someone's unique way of approaching something and incorporating why it's important rather than focusing on the because I said so.
Great point. Sometimes people have to deal with uncomfortable feelings, especially when they're living in a home with others. How do you advise young adults with autism to manage those kinds of feelings?
And this is a great question, and I feel like a conversation that we could have for many hours. So, as a speech pathologist by trade, whenever I come into a situation where I'm working with a young adult that has some big feelings, I want to understand how much they understand about themselves, whether it's their own sensory profile, their communication profiles. Everyone has a different way of approaching life, and all are valid. So, thinking about, if they're having uncomfortable feelings, if it's early on, transitions will take time, particularly for our neurodivergent communities. It's going to take some time getting used to being outside of the home. But also, that work that can be done with an SLP or an OT or a mental health clinician is really valuable of helping a person to understand, okay, these certain sounds are really bothersome to me. How can I politely advocate to a roommate, this is bothering me? What are some self-accommodation strategies that this individual can use? For example, wearing headphones or taking space. So instead of, we can do this higher level, let's problem solve it now. But if we don't have a base understanding of what really sets a person up for success, it's just a band-aid. So really helping this person to understand the the environments that they thrive in, and then advocating, helping them to advocate and being advocates for them as well when they need that help.
Right. How do you create intrinsic motivation for young adults with autism so they're more willing to adapt to certain norms or expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been a huge shift in how therapies approach, building skills for our autistic kids and teens. And we're moving away from this model of, again, that compliance based, because I told you so, compliance based, just get it done, to let's talk about why we do something and why it matters. For you and I, we might think, okay, we get up in the morning, we do our routines, we eat breakfast so that way we know that we are full the rest of the day. Someone that's neurodivergent might not have that connection. They might not even have those body clues to tell them that they're getting hungry. So sometimes it takes a little bit of explicit coaching to say, hey, it's going to be beneficial for you to eat breakfast. Let's talk about the why. So intrinsically motivating is we're tying into like why this is an important skill or an important task. I find for young adults specifically, think about their future goals and then tie it in. I love to do this visually as well. So even we'll make like a roadmap or something like that of, hey, you really want to get a job at this pizza place. Right now, showering is something that's difficult for you to access. Why is this a skill for us to work on? Not because I told you so, but because you have to have a certain level of hygiene if you're going to work in a restaurant environment. So, trying to tie it in and using that visual scaffolding can be really helpful for our autistic and neurodivergent young adults.
That's terrific information. We'd like to thank Danielle Llado from the Lark Center in Norwood, Massachusetts. For more information, you can call 617-431-5400 or email us at contact@mainstayliving.org.